Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Augusta, where we return again together to continue our forever process of creating a beloved community, acting together with compassion, with reason, and with respect, empowering us to promote a just society. I am Reverend Nick Filzen, and I'm very happy to have co-created the service and continue co-creating the service with worship host Chris Garcia. And of course, I'm very thrilled to have guest musician Robin Macy with us this morning. Thanks for that lovely prelude. Music for gathering that I hope you all gave yourselves an opportunity to kind of gather inwardly with each other, and that will put you in a good space as we continue through this service today. I'm not sure if I see many orange name tags, but in case you missed one and you are a visitor, I do want to welcome you as a visitor. We're more than happy, thrilled, in fact, that you're with us. If you are a visitor and you'd like to stay in touch with us and have us stay in touch with you, I invite you to fill out a blue card in the seat pocket in front of you. We'll hopefully have a chance to say hi after the service as well. When we have fellowship hour in the common room over there, there's some coffee and some treats that I hope you'll enjoy with us. And whether you're here for the first time or the 1,000th, I sincerely hope you get what you need today. Our community seems to be really buzzing right now, which is excellent. And that means more and more things are going to be happening. Here are just a few coming up. I hope you'll join us on Sunday, April 17th at 9:30 a.m. For an Easter potluck breakfast that Jan Parsons is putting together. Thanks for that, Jan. What favorite breakfast dish can you share for that event? There will be some baked oatmeal. I've been guaranteed of that. And it's also a time that we can celebrate all the folks who have joined this community over the last year. We will need some help setting up Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning, and if you can do that, please reach out to Jan. And again, thank you to Jan for organizing this really beloved event. Weather permitting, also on that Sunday after the service, there will be an egg hunt in the playground, and Reverend Kim is asking for some volunteers to help hide some eggs after breakfast, but before worship begins. We'll provide baskets here, and we plan on staggering the start times to allow a head start for the littlest kids among us. The Right Relations team has been resurrected, so to speak, as the Committee on Shared Ministry. COSM, otherwise known as COSM, drafted an updated Right Relations policy for the congregation, which the board voted to adopt a while back. And I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware of that. We've posted it around the building in a few places, particularly by the couches in the common area and also on the bulletin board in the family ministry wing. So take a look at those, and I really hope, and I think the committee hopes, that this policy will allow us as a community to fully live into the mission and covenant which bind and rebind us when needed. Next month, our church-wide theme for May is Nurturing Beauty. As a way of practicing that, I'm asking folks who identify as artists in whatever way, whether it be virtual or visual artist, or if you are a poet, things along those lines. I'm hoping that you will submit some of what you have created or perhaps might create for the church campus and for worship services during the month, especially putting some new artwork up here in this space, in the sanctuary. The worship team then will curate the submissions to have the beauty in this space really try to symbolize the diverse, multicultural community we are and strive to be. Let me share my screen real quick. Speaking of the copious talent among us, folks will also share some of their talents with us at our upcoming service auction and talent show on April 30th. let Ray Randolph, who isn't physically with us anymore, she's moved away, but she is still very much a part of planning this. Let her know on Realm, and she'll add you to the donor list if you have some kind of service or wisdom or some kind of art that you would like to provide for that evening to help support the mission of this church. It'd be very cool if each person in the community offered at least one donation. David and I, as I've mentioned before, will be doing offering a recital of some art song for folks. And I if you have something along those lines, like if you're a master gardener or if you have some other skill that you think could be useful, I hope that you'll consider donating it to the church. All right, now let us fully enter this time of worship, this time where we shape that which has worth here together in this space in our hearts so that we might move out into this world and really show, practice, and do the work of compassion that so many folks need.
Is stillness, the source from which we come. The deep listening of pure contemplation is the path to stillness. All words disappear into it, and all creation awakens to the delight of just being.
Would you please rise in body or spirit? And am I on, Stephen? Would you please rise in body or spirit for our first hymn, number 298 in your great hymnals, if you're so inclined to use the hymnal. But we'll also have the words up for 298, Wake Now My Senses. And hear the earth's call, feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow, giving, receiving as love show us how. Wake now, my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, my senses, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbors, stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end.
Now is the time in our service when we come together each week and share those joys and sorrows that have come into our lives.
Big brother. big sister. But gender is just a construct. So the Islamic holy month of Ramadan began yesterday, and I thought it might be good for y'all to learn a bit about it. I found a wonderful, really short introductory video for you, and after we watch it, I won't have a few questions for you, as I said before. So let me just get this up, and we'll learn a bit about Ramadan.
Hello, it's Safa. Today we are going to be reading Welcome Ramadan. I hope you enjoy it. Hello, moon. What a welcome sight. We've searched for you throughout the night. Seeing you now tells Muslims all not to eat or drink until nightfall. For Ramadan, the month of fast, is here for us, hooray at last. What is Ramadan? Bilal asked his big sister Maiza. Maiza smiled at her brother as she remembered what Mummy and Daddy told her when she asked the same question not too long ago. In the special month of Ramadan, before each dawn, Muslims, like Daddy and Mummy, eat some food to fill their tummies, explained Maiza. But when the sun is ready to rise, they will not eat, not even one bite. Why can't we eat? Wondered Bilal. No breakfast, no lunch, no snacks. I'll be so hungry. What? No lunch? Maiza laughed. You and I, we are still too young to fast, you know, and we do need food to help us grow. And every day at each sunset, the fasting Muslim breaks his fast. We break the fast on milk and dates, then eat the meals that Mummy makes. Then every night we go to pray the way we do throughout the day. We stand up tall, then bow down low, asking God to help us all. We do not bite or shout or lie. We pray to God to help us keep our fast and give us patience in every task. Look, look, Bilal, exclaimed Maiza. Do you see the moon? So full and bright it lights the room. Now Ramadan is halfway done and Eid al-Fitr will soon come. Every day in Ramadan, Muslims always read the Quran. The Quran is a holy book in which everyone should take a look. The fasting Muslims give prayer of thanks in the morning, noon, and late at night. The special month of Ramadan helps us remember to thank God for everything we have. We may eat and drink whatever we want, but many children around the world go to sleep hungry and thirsty. Day and night their tummies ache. No bread, no rice, no frosty milkshakes. So, especially in Ramadan, Muslims give money and food to the poor and needy, and never ever hope to be greedy. And before Ramadan slips away, the fasting Muslim spirit is here to stay, to do good deeds and from bad stay clear each and every day of the year. Now the moon is a crescent again. The month of Ramadan has come to an end. Eid al-Fitr is finally here. We can't wait for Ramadan to come next year. Eid Mubarak!
So normally we'd sing our kids to the classes, but we don't have anybody with us this morning, at least that have come in here to start the service. So let's go ahead and move on to the meditation, Chris.
All right. Good morning. So,
Put the microphone at your face.
microphone at my face. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. So this morning, when on my way in, I performed a military maneuver. This is what the military refers to as a tactical transference. So I went to the fridge and I did a tactical transference of a bag of Liz Goodson's cookies. This is what civilians call filching. So I filched them, and I think Liz Goodson's cookies are probably the closest thing we've got to sacred wafers, you know, so it works for us. I've noticed that in the world's major religions, including Ramadan, that most of the rituals focus on the most physical things, not the most abstract things, but the physical things. Food, breathing. All the world's major religions have some kind of a ritual that has to do with food or even tea. So I want everybody to take one of these sacred wafers, and after you get one, before we put them in our mouth, take a moment to let your mind relax. If you're not a meditator, don't try to silence your thoughts, but just let your thoughts relax and feel your body. Don't worry about your spirit. Feel your body sitting in the chair. And say to yourself the words, I know I am sitting in a chair. Pass those around. May the cookie be with you and also with you. Oh, I'm sorry. How dull. Okay. I thought we'd have more people than this, so we'll have a lot of leftover cookies here. Yeah, help yourself. I'll put these with the coffee. Yeah. Yes. Oh, come on now. Don't be fussy. There you go. Yeah.
Chris, are they supposed to eat yet?
Oh, I don't know. I suppose. There you go. All right.
Chris, when should they be eating the cookie?
In a second.
Okay.
So, when I eat my lunch at work, you didn't. Oh, Robin, I'm so sorry.
I have a whole bowl to myself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have another bowl. When I eat lunch at work, I like to point my van backwards at a grove of trees, and I eat very, very slowly. And if I do that, I don't get heartburn, and it's a form of meditation. So I want to suggest you say to yourself, I know I am sitting in a chair. And then say to yourself, as you breathe in, I know I am breathing in. And as you breathe out, say to yourself, I know I am breathing out. I know I am breathing in. I know I am breathing out. And then put the cookie in your mouth and just hold it there for a few seconds. And you can say to yourself, I know I am eating food. And this is food that was made for you with love by somebody who wants you to enjoy it. I know somebody wants me to enjoy this food. And just hold that thought for a minute. I know I am breathing in. I know I am breathing out. So, my diaries, I'm pretty sure I came here about 10 years ago for the first time. And I remember my first impression of this church. I was excited that they had coffee and donuts and stuff in the common room, but I was still a stranger, you know, and I went into the common room and I sat at a table, and Sandy Hochel was sitting across from me, and I think it was Margaret Tuck that was sitting next to her. I'm pretty sure it was. It was either Margaret or Pat. One of them said to Sandy, "So how was Borneo?" And for a second, I thought they were being funny. And then I realized that Sandy Hochel, this kind of elderly lady, had just come from Borneo, where she had been doing some kind of a thing in the jungles or something. And I thought, wow, these people are weirder than me. And I like that. So I became attached to that church right away. Whenever I meet visitors here, I always want to tell them most people don't even know the theology of their church. I don't know how many Baptists know what Baptists are, or how many Episcopalians could explain to you the difference between an Episcopalian and a Baptist. We like our people, and you got to find your people, because that is fundamental to mankind, and that's what food and ritual and all this is about. When you visit somebody at a foreign country, the first thing they want to do is give you a plate of their food. You got to find your people. And you got a good deal here. If you found your people, you got to take care of your people. This is your chance to do that. Will the ushers, if any, please come forward? Yeah. Thank you. See, now, if you haven't done your proper homework as a worship host, that is an act of faith. You just hope that somebody's going to stand up. For your generosity, we thank you.
After my family of four, Janaea, Noah, Charlie, and I, moved from Florida to Santa Barbara for my ministerial internship at the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara. And we began living with my Latter-day Saint in-laws. Janaea's parents are Latter-day Saints. Everybody in this new combined household of 6 got much more acquainted with the rituals, the religious rituals from our two fairly distinct religious traditions. One ritual that I learned from my mother and father-in-love, Kyle and Lee are their names, that Janaea and I really love and will continue doing now that we've moved here to Augusta, is fasting, not eating, for at least one meal on Good Friday. Good Friday, if you don't know, is the Friday right before Easter, when, according to canonical versions of the Jesus story from the Christian Bible, Jesus died on the cross. What I like about this ritual, I learned from Kyle and Lee, is that it uses the symbol of Jesus' suffering as a time to experience a relatively small portion, as it were, of discomfort myself. A toe dipped into suffering. This is a time to practice solidarity with folks in the world who suffer far more than I, especially those who suffer from chronic hunger because of food scarcity, which is usually the result of human misbehavior. Yet, the ritual that I learned from Kyle and Lee and their LDS tradition doesn't just stop with the act of hunger solidarity. They donate the money that they would have spent on the skipped meals to a service provider or directly to a suffering person or people to offer even a modicum of relief. And they're usually really discerning about who might benefit most from the assistance. As I adopt this ritual, I'll continue to include this integral part, thoughtfulness about where I'm sending financial support, including research into how my money can be most helpful at that given moment. Now, not necessarily because some causes are more worthy or some people will be more responsible with the money, which is kind of a negative trope there, or where money might be spent most efficiently. I do hope to support the folks who are most impacted by this action. And I do this research because it allows me to see a bigger picture and more detailed picture of how things are in this world. This fasting ritual allows me to continue my awakening to the suffering of others, my awakening to compassion for others. Now, I know a little bit less about Islam than other traditions, including that of the Latter-day Saints, because I've had less direct experience with it, which is fine. But today I decided to continue my practice of awakening by exploring the wisdom of Islam through the Islamic holy month of Ramadan, because Ramadan, as I said earlier, began yesterday. Now, during Ramadan, most adult Muslims fast from sunup to sundown every day for a whole month. In that context, I wonder, what is the significance of fasting? Why do they do it? Is it like my parents-in-law reasoning for their Good Friday fasting ritual? What relationship does the Islamic fasting ritual have to do with awakening? Now, fasting, or Sawm, spelled S-A-W-M, is one of 5 so-called pillars of Islam. The other 4 are the witness, shahada, the prayers, salat, the alms, either sadaqah or zakat, depending on the context, and the pilgrimage, hajj, which is probably the most well-known. Hajj is when many Muslims from around the world make the annual trek to the holy site of Mecca in Saudi Arabia. Today, we're going to focus on Sawm, the fasting bit. But I encourage you to look the others up and learn more about them yourself if you'd like. And as I said before, the fasting, or Sawm, happens during the lunar month of Ramadan, which began yesterday. According to Islamic mythos are kind of stories that help us make sense of our lives. Two major events are said to have happened during this month of Ramadan. Muhammad's first revelation that led to the writing of the Quran, and a war victory at Badr. Now, specifically during Psalm, the ritual, as I said, is fasting, but really nothing is to enter the body during this practice of Psalm. Some Muslims even avoid tobacco and sexual intercourse in addition to food and drink. Importantly, it's a very important exception. There are exceptions allowed for travelers, the ill, children and the elderly, and pregnant or nursing mothers. The goal isn't to cause additional harm. Quite the opposite. Internationally acclaimed scholar Riza Aslan, who I've mentioned here before, elaborates on this holy month in his fantastic book about Islam called No God But God. In it, Aslan says, quote, "The chief purpose behind the ritual fast is to bind the community as one. It is a reminder of the suffering and poverty of those among them who go without food throughout the year. For this reason, the Muslims who are not obliged to fast, the list I named earlier, are instead required by the Quran to feed the hungry. And while an entire month of fasting may sound like a grim experience, Ramadan is in actuality a time for both spiritual introspection and festive celebration." End quote. This echoes a passage directly from the Quran, the holy text of Islam, in which it says in chapter 2, verse 183, "Fasting is prescribed to you as it was prescribed to those before you, that you may learn piety and righteousness." For Muslims, this is a month-long, deeply spiritual awakening of reverently reconnecting to others. That's what piety means, one who really practices religion and reverence. But religion is just the practice of rebinding. Again, religare is rebinding. And this is a practice that's taken seriously and joyfully. Beyond refraining from eating, it seems the other core element is feeding and clothing folks in poverty. This holy practice really is quite similar to the ritual I learned from my LDS in Loves. The huge difference, of course, is that practicing Muslims do it for a whole month. But once you get through that difficult month, as the video we watched earlier said, on the final night of Ramadan, everyone celebrates, a huge celebration and feast, together on perhaps the biggest holy day of the Islamic calendar, Eid al-Fitr. I'm not surprised. This is how they bookend this ritual. Breaking bread together, as we did with our cookies earlier, after such a difficult shared experience, can be very cathartic, very connecting, very holy. I hope you'll join Janaea and I as we fast on Good Friday, a holy day that we both grew up with. It's part of our lived experience. And that the tiny bit of suffering, just discomfort, that you might experience that day and the research you do to find out where your money might have the most impact allows you to continue your awakening. Awakening to the world around you, to other traditions and cultures that have much to offer in our multicultural landscape, to folks with less privilege than you, and awaken to the empathy and compassion inside you that's so important to the mission of this church, of beloved community, within, among, and beyond. Now I'd like to open it up for some shared reflection time, again using the progressive stack as we did a few weeks ago. However, we'll have a bit more time this go around because I've learned my lesson and included fewer things in the liturgy today. As a reminder, a progressive stack is where we center some of the voices among us that often are marginalized or sometimes called targeted identities. That includes Black, Indigenous, or people of color, people who are identify as LGBTQ plus in any way. If you have a different national identity than the United States, or if you're an immigrant. There are a variety of things that either physical or mental disability in some way, whatever you think that puts you into those categories. You don't have to tell us what that is, but we'll trust you. And we'll have 15 minutes to reflect on the following questions, with the first 7 minutes devoted to anybody, again, who recognizes themselves as somebody with a targeted identity. Then a couple minutes for Zoom folks to chime in if they'd like, and finally open it up for general comment. Again, as I said before, there might be some silence that happens in the midst of this, and that's okay. I invite you to be with that silence. Then think of the silence as a member of this community and just kind of be with it. Don't feel like you have to jump in just because it's silent. I know it's hard for me. And again, this isn't a chance for I'm getting a little feedback, Stephen. Can we turn my mic down just a little bit? Again, this isn't a chance for cross-talking or disagreement. Simply speaking from your own experience, your own story. Here are the questions that we're going to consider. When have you experienced something that was momentarily uncomfortable for you? Intentionally or not? That opened your heart to somebody else's experience more fully. When have you experienced something that was momentarily uncomfortable for you, intentionally or not, that opened your heart to somebody else's experience more fully, that allowed you to practice compassion? What rituals do you practice or your families practice that give you this opportunity on somewhat of a regular basis? Is there anything your family does purposefully, like fasting on Friday or fasting for a whole month, that kind of provides this opportunity to connect with a larger community than yourself, to bind you as one? So with that, I'm gonna start our 15 minutes right now. Again, first 7 minutes, going up to 11:57, will be devoted to folks who feel they have a target identity. And if there's silence for that 7 minutes within that time, we'll just have some more meditation time. So it feels like we don't have anybody who's going to identify as one of those identities, which is fine. So why don't we go ahead and move to our Zoom folks. See if there's anybody who would like to answer this, reflect on this question from the Zoom world. And I'll repeat it once more. When have you experienced something that was hard on you that helped you feel somebody else's experience more fully? And or what rituals have you practiced in your life that have allowed you to open up your heart a little bit more? You can raise your hand with the reaction button, or you can raise your physical hand if you have the camera on. I see you. Marika, it looks like you're trying to raise your hand, so I'll go ahead and unmute yourself and share your story.
Starting at least a year ago, I began to fast on every Friday. So I fast from midnight on Thursday until Saturday morning. All day on Saturday, I don't have any meals. And what Reverend Nick has made me realize is that this does put me in a position of understanding maybe something of what people in Ukraine now who are going without food and such. And I hadn't thought of it along those lines. I was thinking of intermittent fasting, but I definitely observe how my body responds to not being fed. And it's interesting for me to have that experience.
Thank you, Marika. Anybody else from Zoom who'd like to share? Marika, would you mute yourself again, please? It does appear that nobody else from Zoom would like to share. So now let's open it up to everyone in this space. Anybody who'd like to reflect, please come up to the center microphone and share.
Okay.
Thanks for that reminder, Stephen.
Yeah, I lived in Saudi Arabia for 7 years, and when I first got there, it was summertime, and Ramadan came, and I knew nothing about Ramadan. I knew very little about Islam. I learned a lot, but it was, to me, very, very surprising and very kind of like, why are we doing this? But the people there were very, very dedicated to this Ramadan. And of course, I worked in the hospital, and people that were sick could be excluded from Ramadan. But it was very difficult for those people who were sick and who had to eat. And but I learned that how important it was to them. And then in the evening, when I worked, they would break fast, they would pray, and then they would break fast. And then there would be lots of ceremonies and festivals and parties, and everybody would get together and gather and eat. And so it was a community of coming together for these people at nighttime, because that's when they ate and that's when they would come together. And so I can feel for those people in the Ukraine and people who are in war-torn countries that now it's Ramadan, and they're having a very hard time, I'm sure.
Thank you, Chris.
I was thinking of my son, Anthony. I saw him a while back, and we had a good time when he was here on vacation. I think the most important ritual in my life, and I don't claim to be good at it, is conversation. And of course, the challenge in conversation is really just learning to listen. And whenever I could see that my son was kind of going through something that he was having a hard time talking about, I'd always say, let's go get a burger. And there is something about food and drink and physicality that makes it easier for people to talk.
Thank you, Chris.
See, is this good, Stephen? Okay. I just, in answer to your first question about going through something that sort of opens your eyes and brings more compassion, I have thought of myself as a pretty compassionate person for a long time, but when I went through my cancer treatment, it opened my eyes to a whole world of suffering that people experience that I didn't really understand. And I was able to relate to it in a different way to people who are going through that kind of treatment. And also, as I went through chemo and couldn't go for the walks I like to go for, the bike rides, I had a different compassion for people who are just not able to do many of the physical things that I had taken for granted. And it also took me back to my vegetarianism, which I had given up for about 10 years because I was being pumped full of chemicals, and it was causing me such stress, and yet it was something I was choosing to do. And I thought of those animals in factory farms that are pumped full of chemicals and they don't know what's going on, and they haven't chosen it. So it just really opened my eyes in unexpected ways, and I'm grateful for that. In terms of rituals, I am observing Lent this year, which I've never done, and so that's been a nice practice to start. My immediate family is also trying it to more or less success, but it's been good for me so far to let go of something that I've found I come to rely on for comfort, and to think about others who can't have that same comfort every day. So thank you for that question.
Thank you,
Reverend.
Natalia.
I thought of several times in my life where things have happened that made me aware of the needs of others. One was the Sunday morning I woke up and my house was on fire. And within hours, I was homeless. I was lucky. There were so many people that said, come live with me, come stay with me, let us help you. So when I look at the disasters and where people have lost their homes and everybody around them has done the same thing, then I feel such deep sorrow for them and wish I could do something. The other time was when I had cancer and I had to have blood. And I became very aware of the need for that. So my ritual is I donate blood as often as it's available, as often as my body allows it. So that's my ritual in remembering others.
Thank you. want to express my deep gratitude for folks who have shared their stories. They're very, very personal stories. It's a gift that you've shared, and a gift that not dissimilar to the gift of a ritual, a gift that we can provide others as we live out the compassion that is constantly emerging and blooming in our hearts. May we, as a community, continue to allow that compassion to bloom here among this lovely community and within our hearts, and then out into this world. With that, I invite you all to rise in body or spirit to sing our final hymn, Our World is One World. Number 134 in your gray hymnal, if you are so inclined to look at that. Our world is one world. What touches one affects us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. Our world is one world. The thoughts we think affect us all. The way we build our attitudes with love or hate we make a bridge or wall. Our world is one world. Its ways of wealth affect us all. The way we spend, the way we share, who are the rich or poor, who stand or fall. Our world is one world, just like a ship that bears us all, where fear and greed make many holes, but where our hearts can hear a different call. I invite you to remain risen. You have risen indeed. As I share these final words from 13th century Sufi Islamic mystic poet Rumi, entitled Don't Go Back to Sleep. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand Spirit.